We all crave recognition, appreciation, and love. It's natural. But what happens when someone in your life, a friend, family member, romantic partner, or coworker, doesn't value you? Whether it's subtle neglect or outright disrespect, being undervalued can leave deep emotional scars. In this video, we're diving into what you can do when you feel undervalued by someone important in your life. We will walk through the steps to recognize the signs, understand the underlying causes, and most importantly, reclaim your self-worth. Why this matters. Being undervalued affects more than just your emotions. It impacts your mental well-being, self-esteem, and even your physical health. When someone doesn't value you, it chips away at your confidence and causes you to question your worth. But you need to remember one thing: your value is intrinsic. It doesn't depend on how others treat you. This video is here to remind you that you are worthy of respect, love, and appreciation, and you'll learn how to stand firm in that belief. Firstly, recognizing the signs that someone doesn't value you. Sometimes it's not obvious that someone is undervaluing you. Disrespect and neglect can come in subtle forms, making it difficult to pinpoint the exact moment when things shifted. Let's start by identifying the key signs that someone in your life isn't valuing you. 1.1. Disrespect or dismissiveness. One of the first signs of being undervalued is feeling disrespected or dismissed. If the person regularly dismisses your opinions, downplays your emotions, or belittles your ideas, they are not valuing you. Example: you bring up something that's important to you and they roll their eyes or give you a sarcastic response. Over time, these small moments add up, making you feel insignificant. 1.2. Lack of appreciation. Another key sign is a lack of appreciation. This manifests when someone consistently takes your efforts for granted, whether it's at home, at work, or in social circles. Example: you go out of your way to help them, and they don't acknowledge or thank you for it. In romantic relationships, this might look like you planning thoughtful dates or doing things for your partner, but they never reciprocate or show gratitude. 1.3. Inconsistent behavior. One of the most confusing signs is inconsistency. The person may be kind and attentive one day and cold or distant the next. This leaves you constantly wondering where you stand. Example: one day they're praising you, and the next they're ignoring your calls or texts. This hot and cold behavior is emotionally exhausting and undermines your sense of security. 1.4. Ignoring your boundaries. A person who doesn't value you will often ignore or disrespect your boundaries. Whether it's emotional, physical, or time-related, they will act as though your limits don't matter. Example: you ask for some space or time alone, but they continue to invade your privacy or push their own agenda, showing they have no regard for your personal needs. 1.5. Putting you down or making you feel guilty. Undervaluing can also come in the form of subtle insults or guilt tripping. This can be especially common in toxic relationships, where the person uses manipulation to make you feel bad about yourself. Example: they might say things like, "You're being too sensitive," or "I was only joking," after making a hurtful comment. These phrases are meant to make you question your feelings, making you doubt your reactions. 1.6. Not prioritizing your time or effort. If someone continuously cancels plans, shows up late, or only comes to you when they need something, they are signaling that your time and effort are not a priority. Example: you might notice that they always have time for others but never for you, or they only reach out when they need a favor. This type of one-sided relationship is draining and disempowering. Reflection. Exercise. Take a moment to think about your relationships. Can you identify any of these behaviors in the people around you? Jot down specific examples and notice any patterns that emerge. Recognizing the signs is the first step in addressing the issue. Secondly, understanding the psychology behind why people devalue others. It's important to understand that when someone devalues you, it often has more to do with them than with you. By understanding the psychology behind why people devalue others, you can begin to detach emotionally from the situation and reclaim your self-worth. 2.1. Low self-esteem and projection. Many people devalue others because they have low self-esteem and are projecting their insecurities onto you. They may feel inadequate, so they try to bring you down to their level by dismissing your worth. Example: a coworker might constantly criticize your work, not because it's bad, but because they feel insecure about their own performance. 2.2 Narcissism and Ego. Narcissistic individuals often devalue others as a way to inflate their own egos. They see relationships as a means to an end, typically to boost their self-importance, so they have little regard for your value or contributions. Example: in romantic relationships, a narcissist might love bomb you at first, showering you with attention and affection, only to pull away later once they've secured your admiration. 2.3 Emotional unavailability. Some people are simply emotionally unavailable, making it difficult for them to truly value anyone. They may be too focused on their own needs or too fearful of emotional intimacy to appreciate your worth. Example: you might find yourself in a friendship where you're always the one initiating contact and trying to make plans, while the other person remains distant or non-committal. 2.4 Selfishness and manipulation. Some individuals devalue others because they are selfish and manipulative. They may use you for what you can provide, whether that's emotional support, financial help, or professional connections, without caring about your well-being. Example: a friend might constantly ask you for favors but never be there when you need help, showing that they are only interested in what you can give them. 2.5 Fear of vulnerability. Some people devalue others because they are afraid of being vulnerable. They may push you away or minimize your importance in an attempt to protect themselves from getting hurt. Example: in romantic relationships, someone who fears vulnerability might avoid deep conversations or shut down emotionally when things get too serious, leaving you feeling undervalued. 2.6 Power dynamics and control. In some cases, devaluing others is a way for people to assert control or maintain a power dynamic. By making you feel small, they ensure that you stay dependent on them, either emotionally, financially, or socially. Example: in a toxic work environment, a boss might undermine your contributions or take credit for your ideas, not because you're incapable, but because they want to maintain control over your career. Reflection. Exercise. Consider the people who you feel undervalue you. Can you identify any of these psychological patterns in their behavior? Understanding their motivations can help you stop internalizing their actions and begin the process of emotional detachment. Third, the emotional and physical impact of being undervalued. Being undervalued takes a toll not just on your emotional well-being, but also on your mental and physical health. The constant feeling of not being good enough or not being seen can lead to anxiety, depression, and even physical illness. 3.1 The erosion of self-esteem. When someone doesn't value you, it slowly chips away at your self-esteem. You begin to doubt your worth, wondering if you are truly as unimportant as they make you feel. Example: a romantic partner who constantly criticizes your appearance, intelligence, or decisions can make you question your self-worth, leading to deep-seated insecurities. 3.2 Anxiety and overthinking. Feeling undervalued often leads to excessive overthinking and anxiety. You may find yourself replaying conversations, analyzing every interaction, and questioning whether you're doing enough. Example: after a friend cancels plans for the third time in a row, you start to overanalyze your past interactions, wondering if you said or did something wrong. 3.3 Depression and loneliness. When you are undervalued, it can lead to feelings of depression and loneliness. The constant rejection or neglect makes you feel isolated, even if you are surrounded by people. Example: in a family setting, being consistently overlooked or dismissed by parents or siblings can make you feel like an outsider in your own home, leading to sadness and isolation. 3.4 Physical manifestations of stress. The emotional strain of feeling undervalued can manifest physically. Stress-related symptoms like headaches, insomnia, and even gastrointestinal issues are common in people who feel unappreciated or disrespected. Example: you might notice that every time you interact with this person, you get a knot in your stomach, or you have trouble sleeping after a particularly frustrating conversation. 3.5 Emotional burnout. Constantly trying to prove your worth to someone who doesn't value you is exhausting. This emotional labor leads to burnout, where you no longer have the energy or desire to keep up the effort. Example: in a workplace, you might find yourself staying late, taking on extra tasks, and going above and beyond, only to be met with indifference or criticism. Over time, you feel depleted and disillusioned. 3.6. The long-term consequences. The long-term consequences of staying in relationships where you are undervalued can be severe. Prolonged exposure to emotional neglect or disrespect can lead to chronic stress, which negatively affects your physical and mental health over time. Example: years of being in a marriage where your partner dismisses your needs can lead to long-term emotional scars that affect your ability to trust others in the future. Reflection. Exercise. Take some time to assess how being undervalued is affecting your emotional and physical well-being. Write down the specific ways this person's behavior has impacted your mental health, self-esteem, and physical body. Acknowledging the damage is the first step toward healing. Fourth, why self-worth must come from within. It's easy to fall into the trap of seeking validation from others, especially when someone we care about doesn't value us. But the truth is that no amount of external validation will ever be enough if we don't value ourselves first. In this chapter, we'll explore why self-worth must come from within and how to cultivate it. 4.1. The dangers of seeking external validation. When we rely on others to make us feel valued, we give them the power to control our emotions. This constant search for approval leaves us vulnerable to manipulation and disappointment. Example: if you're always seeking praise or validation from your boss, you may end up compromising your own boundaries or overworking yourself to meet their expectations, even if they are unreasonable. 4.2. Building internal self-esteem. True self-esteem comes from within. It's about recognizing your intrinsic worth, regardless of how others treat you. This internal self-esteem is unshakable because it's not dependent on external factors. Practical tips. Affirmations. Start each day with positive affirmations about yourself. These could be as simple as, "I am worthy of respect," or "My value does not depend on others' opinions." Gratitude journal. Keep a journal where you write down things you appreciate about yourself each day. This shifts your focus away from what others think and toward recognizing your own value. 4.3. The importance of self-love. Self-love is not selfish, it's essential. When you love yourself, you set the standard for how others should treat you. Self-love means respecting your own boundaries, taking care of your emotional needs, and prioritizing your well-being. Example: a person who loves themselves will walk away from a friendship that feels one-sided, knowing that they deserve reciprocity and respect. 4.4. Understanding your intrinsic value. Your value is not based on what you can do for others or how much you achieve. It is inherent. You are valuable simply because you exist. Recognizing this intrinsic value is a powerful step toward reclaiming your self-worth. Example: even if your family doesn't appreciate your efforts, it doesn't diminish your worth as a person. Their lack of recognition is a reflection of them, not of your value. 4.5. Reframing your mindset. You are enough. One of the most important shifts you can make is embracing the mindset that you are enough, just as you are. You don't need to prove your worth to anyone or constantly strive for approval. You are enough simply by being yourself. Exercise. Write down the phrase, "I am enough," and place it somewhere visible, like your bathroom mirror or your workspace. Remind yourself of this every day until it becomes a belief that you fully embody. Reflection. Exercise. Take some time to reflect on where you've been seeking validation from others. What would it look like if you started valuing yourself from within? Write down 3 ways you can practice self-love and cultivate internal self-worth this week. 5th, how to set boundaries with people who don't value you. Setting boundaries is a critical part of protecting your self-worth. If someone in your life isn't valuing you, it's essential to create clear boundaries that protect your emotional and mental well-being. In this chapter, we'll explore how to set and enforce boundaries with people who don't respect you. 5.1. Why boundaries are crucial. Boundaries are the limits we set to protect ourselves from being mistreated or taken advantage of. They communicate to others what is acceptable and what isn't. When someone doesn't value you, it's especially important to have firm boundaries in place. Example: in a romantic relationship, a boundary might be telling your partner that you won't tolerate being spoken to disrespectfully. If they continue to raise their voice or insult you during arguments, you may choose to walk away from the relationship. 5.2 Recognizing when a boundary has been crossed. Often we feel a sense of discomfort or frustration when someone crosses our boundaries. Recognizing this feeling is the first step in identifying when a boundary has been violated. Example: if a friend constantly asks you for favors but never reciprocates, you may start to feel resentful or drained. This is a sign that your boundary around giving and receiving has been crossed. 5.3 How to set clear, firm boundaries. Setting boundaries can feel uncomfortable, especially if you're not used to asserting your needs, but it's essential for your well-being. Steps to setting boundaries. Identify your limits. What behaviors or actions are unacceptable to you? What do you need to feel respected and valued in this relationship? Communicate clearly. When setting a boundary, be direct and specific. Use I statements to express how the other person's behavior affects you. For example, I feel disrespected when you cancel plans last minute. I need more consistency from our friendship. Be prepared for pushback. People who don't value you may not take your boundaries seriously at first. Stand firm and be consistent in enforcing them. 5.4 Enforcing consequences. Boundaries are only effective if there are consequences for crossing them. If someone continues to disregard your limits, it's important to follow through with the consequences you've set. Example: if a coworker consistently interrupts you during meetings, you might set a boundary by saying, "Please let me finish my point before you jump in." If they continue to interrupt, you may need to escalate the issue by addressing it with your supervisor or HR. 5.5 How to handle pushback. It's common to face resistance when you first start setting boundaries, especially with people who are used to crossing them. Some may react with anger, guilt-tripping, or manipulation. Example: a family member might say, "I can't believe you won't help me. I thought you cared about me." It's important to recognize this as manipulation and reaffirm your boundary with a firm but compassionate response. 5.6 The importance of consistency. Boundaries are only effective if you consistently enforce them. If you set a boundary but don't follow through with consequences, the other person will likely continue to disregard your limits. Example: if you tell a friend that you need them to respect your time and not cancel last minute, but you keep making plans with them, even when they break that boundary, they will not take your limits seriously. Reflection. Exercise. Write down 3 boundaries that you want to set in your relationships. These could be with friends, family, a partner, or even at work. Practice how you will communicate these boundaries clearly and think about what consequences you will enforce if they are crossed. 6th, when and how to walk away from those who don't value you. Sometimes, despite your best efforts, the only solution is to walk away from people who don't value you. It's a difficult decision, especially if the person is someone close to you, but it's often the most empowering choice you can make. This chapter will guide you through knowing when it's time to leave and how to do so with grace and strength. 6.1 Knowing when it's time to walk away. There comes a point when you've tried everything: setting boundaries, communicating your needs, and giving the person a chance to change, but nothing works. This is when you must consider walking away. Example: in a toxic work environment, you've spoken to your boss about feeling undervalued, but nothing has changed. Despite your efforts, your contributions are still overlooked, and the work culture remains unsupportive. 6.2 The emotional challenges of walking away. Walking away from a relationship, whether it's romantic, familial, or professional, is never easy. You may feel guilty, anxious, or fearful about the future. But staying in a situation where you aren't valued will only continue to harm your self-worth. Example: leaving a long-term friendship where the other person has consistently disrespected your boundaries can be emotionally taxing, but it's necessary for your growth. 6.3, how to emotionally detach before walking away. Before physically leaving a relationship or situation, it's important to begin the process of emotional detachment. This helps you protect your heart and mind as you prepare to move on. Steps to emotional detachment. Limit emotional investment. Begin by reducing the amount of emotional energy you invest in the relationship. Stop trying to please or change the other person. Create emotional distance. Start focusing on yourself and your needs. Shift your energy away from the relationship and toward your personal growth. Visualize your life without them. Picture what your life will look like once you've walked away. Imagine the freedom and peace you'll feel once you're no longer tied to someone who doesn't value you. 6.4. The power of walking away as an act of self-love. Walking away is not a sign of weakness or failure. It's an act of self-love. By leaving a situation where you aren't valued, you are choosing to prioritize your well-being and self-respect. Example: in a romantic relationship, walking away from a partner who continually disrespects you isn't giving up. It's choosing to love yourself enough to demand better. 6.5. How to navigate the aftermath. After walking away, it's normal to experience a range of emotions, from relief to sadness. You may question your decision or feel tempted to go back, but it's important to stay firm in your choice and focus on healing. Tips for navigating the aftermath. Allow yourself to grieve. Even if the relationship was toxic, it's still a loss. Give yourself permission to feel sad, angry, or disappointed. Lean on your support system. Surround yourself with people who love and respect you. Their support will help you stay strong in your decision. Focus on self-care. Take this time to focus on yourself. Engage in activities that bring you joy and peace, whether it's journaling, exercising, or spending time in nature. 6.6. The long-term benefits of walking away. While walking away is difficult in the short term, the long-term benefits are worth it. You'll experience emotional freedom, improved mental health, and a stronger sense of self-worth. Example: after leaving a toxic workplace, you might find yourself in a job that values your contributions and provides a supportive environment, leading to greater job satisfaction and personal fulfillment. Reflection. Exercise. Think about a relationship or situation where you feel undervalued. What would walking away look like for you? Write down the steps you would need to take to emotionally and physically distance yourself from that person or situation. 7th, rebuilding your confidence and self-worth after being undervalued. Once you've walked away from a situation where you were undervalued, it's time to focus on rebuilding your confidence and self-worth. This chapter will guide you through the healing process, helping you rediscover your value and reclaim your sense of self. 7.1. The importance of self-reflection. After leaving a toxic relationship or situation, it's important to take time for self-reflection. This allows you to process your emotions, understand what went wrong, and learn from the experience. Example: journaling about your experiences can help you gain clarity on why you felt undervalued and what you can do differently in future relationships. 7.2. Surrounding yourself with positive influences. One of the best ways to rebuild your confidence is to surround yourself with people who truly value and support you. These relationships will help you regain a sense of belonging and self-worth. Example: after leaving a one-sided friendship, you might focus on spending more time with friends who uplift and encourage you. 7.3. Setting new standards for future relationships. Now that you've walked away from a situation where you were undervalued, it's time to set new standards for how you will be treated in the future. This means being clear about your boundaries and only allowing people into your life who respect and value you. Example: in future romantic relationships, you might set a standard that you will not tolerate emotional manipulation or disrespectful communication. 7.4. Engaging in self-care and personal growth. Self-care is a critical part of the healing process. By taking care of your emotional, physical, and mental well-being, you'll begin to rebuild your self-esteem and sense of worth. Self-care ideas: physical, engage in regular exercise, eat nourishing foods, and prioritize rest. Emotional: practice mindfulness, meditation, or therapy to process your emotions. Mental: learn a new skill, take up a creative hobby, or set personal development goals. 7.5. Celebrating your progress. As you rebuild your confidence, it's important to celebrate your progress along the way. Every small step you take toward healing and self-growth is worth acknowledging. Example: if you've successfully set a boundary with someone or made a decision that prioritizes your well-being, take a moment to celebrate that victory. This reinforces your new sense of self-worth. 7.6. Finding joy in your independence. After walking away from a situation where you were undervalued, you'll begin to find joy in your independence. No longer tied to someone else's approval or validation, you'll discover a sense of freedom and empowerment. Example: you might realize that you enjoy spending time alone, pursuing hobbies that make you happy, or setting personal goals that are aligned with your values. Reflection exercise. Write down 3 things you love about yourself and 3 accomplishments that you are proud of. These could be related to your career, relationships, or personal growth. Keep this list as a reminder of your worth, especially on days when you need an extra boost of confidence. 8. The importance of forgiveness for yourself and others. Forgiveness is an essential part of healing from being undervalued. However, it's important to understand that forgiveness is not about excusing bad behavior or allowing people back into your life. It's about freeing yourself from the emotional weight of resentment and moving forward. 8.1. Forgiving yourself for accepting less than you deserve. When you've been undervalued, it's common to feel guilt or shame for tolerating poor treatment. But it's important to remember that you did the best you could with the knowledge and tools you had at the time. Example: you may feel angry at yourself for staying in a toxic relationship for too long, but it's essential to forgive yourself and recognize that leaving was a brave and empowering choice. 8.2. The difference between forgiveness and reconciliation. Now, forgiveness doesn't mean you have to let the person back into your life. It's possible to forgive someone for their behavior without reconciling with them or continuing the relationship. Example: you might forgive a friend who hurt you, but choose not to remain close with them if they continue to disrespect your boundaries. 8.3. The mental health benefits of forgiveness. Forgiveness has been shown to have significant mental health benefits. By letting go of resentment and anger, you free yourself from the negative emotions that can weigh you down and hinder your healing process. Example: studies have shown that forgiveness reduces stress, anxiety, and depression, leading to improved overall well-being. 8.4. How to forgive without excusing disrespect. It's important to understand that forgiving someone doesn't mean condoning their behavior or pretending that it didn't hurt you. Forgiveness is about releasing the hold that the past has on you, not excusing disrespect or bad behavior. Example: you can forgive a partner for treating you poorly, but still acknowledge that their actions were hurtful and unacceptable. Forgiveness doesn't erase the need for accountability. 8.5. Practical steps for forgiving others. Forgiveness is a process, and it often takes time. Here are some practical steps you can take to begin the process of forgiving someone who has undervalued you. Acknowledge your pain. Recognize the hurt that the other person caused and allow yourself to feel the emotions that come with it. Decide to forgive. Forgiveness is a conscious choice. Decide that you want to let go of the resentment and move forward. Release negative emotions. Through journaling, meditation, or therapy, work on releasing the anger and resentment you feel toward the other person. Focus on your healing. Shift your focus away from the person who hurt you and toward your own healing and personal growth. 8.6. Moving forward without holding grudges. Holding on to grudges only keeps you tied to the past. Once you've forgiven someone, it's important to let go of any lingering resentment and move forward with your life. Example: after forgiving a coworker who undermined you, you may choose to focus on your own career growth rather than dwelling on the past conflict. Reflection. Exercise. Write a letter to the person who undervalued you. You don't have to send it, but use this letter as a way to express your feelings and begin the process of forgiveness. Once you've written the letter, pause and reflect. Reflect on what you said and how it made you feel. If you feel that you need to move forward, take a moment to reflect on what you said. Reflect on what you said and how it made you feel. Once you've written the letter, pause and reflect. Reflect on how you feel and what steps you can take toward letting go of the resentment. Ninth, focusing on personal growth and self-improvement. After walking away from a situation where you were undervalued, the best way to move forward is to focus on your personal growth and self-improvement. This chapter will guide you through setting goals, learning new skills, and becoming the best version of yourself. 9. 1. The power of personal growth. Personal growth is about constantly evolving and improving yourself, emotionally, mentally, and physically. By focusing on your personal development, you can reclaim your self-worth and create a life that is fulfilling and aligned with your values. Example: after leaving a toxic relationship, you might focus on building new skills, improving your emotional intelligence, and setting goals for your career or personal life. 9.2. Setting personal growth goals. One of the most powerful ways to focus on personal growth is to set specific, measurable goals. These goals can be related to your career, health, relationships, or personal development. Steps to setting personal growth goals. Identify areas for improvement. Think about areas of your life where you'd like to grow or improve. This could be anything from building better communication skills to improving your fitness. Set specific, measurable goals. Make sure your goals are specific and measurable. For example, instead of saying, "I want to get healthier," set a goal like, "I will exercise for 30 minutes 3 times a week." Break down your goals. Break your larger goals into smaller, manageable steps. This makes it easier to stay motivated and track your progress. 9.3. Developing new skills and hobbies. One of the best ways to rebuild your confidence and self-worth is to develop new skills or take up new hobbies. This not only gives you a sense of accomplishment, but also helps you discover new passions and interests. Example: you might decide to take up painting, learn a new language, or enroll in an online course that aligns with your career goals. 9.4. Surrounding yourself with positive, supportive people. As you focus on your personal growth, it's important to surround yourself with people who support and uplift you. These relationships will help reinforce your self-worth and encourage your development. Example: you might join a community of like-minded individuals who share your interests, such as a book club, fitness group, or professional networking organization. 9.5. Embracing discomfort as a catalyst for growth. Personal growth often requires stepping outside of your comfort zone. It's in these moments of discomfort that you learn the most about yourself and grow as a person. Example: you might feel nervous about giving a presentation at work, but pushing through that discomfort will help you build confidence and improve your public speaking skills. 9.6. Celebrating your achievements. As you work on your personal growth, it's important to celebrate your achievements, big and small. Recognizing your progress reinforces your self-worth and keeps you motivated. Example: if you've successfully reached one of your personal growth goals, take the time to celebrate your accomplishment. This could be as simple as treating yourself to something you enjoy or reflecting on how far you've come. Reflection exercise. Write down 3 personal growth goals that you want to achieve in the next 6 months. Break each goal down into smaller steps and create a plan for how you will work toward them. Celebrate your progress along the way and continue to focus on your personal development, embracing your worth and living authentically. As we conclude this journey, it's important to remember that your worth is not determined by how others treat you. You are inherently valuable, and it's up to you to live in alignment with that truth. By recognizing when someone doesn't value you, setting boundaries and walking away when necessary, you are reclaiming your self-worth and choosing to live authentically. Key takeaways. Your value is intrinsic. It doesn't depend on the opinions or actions of others. Recognizing when someone doesn't value you is the first step toward reclaiming your worth. Setting boundaries is an essential part of protecting your emotional and mental well-being. Walking away from those who don't value you is an act of self-love and empowerment. Rebuilding your confidence and self-worth requires time, patience, and self-care. Personal growth and self-improvement are powerful tools for healing and reclaiming your life. Final reflection exercise. Take a moment to reflect on everything you've learned throughout this video. Write down one key takeaway that resonated with you and one action step you will take to apply this lesson to your life. Remember, you are worthy of love, respect, and appreciation, always. Live in alignment with that truth and never settle for anything less than what you deserve. If you're watching this right now, it's because deep down, you know it's time for a change. It's time to stop settling for less than you deserve. You've recognized the signs, you understand your worth, and now it's your moment to take action. Don't wait for tomorrow or for someone else to validate you. Start valuing yourself today. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss the guidance and motivation you need to stay on track. Drop a comment below and share your journey, because you are not alone in this. Every day is an opportunity to reclaim your power, set new standards, and step into the life you deserve. And if this video inspired you, hit that like button so we can reach more people who need this message, just like you did. Now it's your turn to rise up and take control of your life. No more waiting, no more excuses. You are worthy of respect, love, and everything you dream of. And it all starts with you deciding to take that first step. Let's do this together. Start your journey to self-worth right now.